To another edition of NASCAR DFS Preview. I'm AustYn with the Sports Chief, and we're headed out to Talladega Superspeedway for the next event in the NASCAR Cup Series. So right now we are currently in the round of 12 for the NASCAR playoffs. Now this isn't the cut race. The next race will be Charlotte at the Roval, but the point situation will be very key, so we're looking at that this week. Frankly, this is one of the harder races to pick in terms of DFS because a little bit of strategy goes in with it. It results in a lot of chalky results. So you'll have some drivers that won't be picked as heavily as you normally would see them at normal. Well, I say normal tracks, but different tracks. So of course we know that Talladega Superspeedway has the pack racing, so it's a different style of racing. Which there are a few drivers that are better than others. Honestly, I don't know that we have like a great restrictor plate driver. Well, it's not restrictor plates anymore, but pack driver, so to speak. Trevor Bayne almost won the truck race today at Talladega. I would consider him a really good, super speedway driver for sure. And then the Xfinity Series, Justin Haley won that race. And it seems like he's got a knack for running these races as well. So that's something to look at. Past performance is pretty key. Those that can avoid wrecks, that is a big plus when picking your lineup. But ultimately, you have to kind of pick and choose of where your drivers will finish if you think they'll finish above where they started. That's the biggest factor for sure. Of course, qualifying position is now it's based off of a formula from the fastest lap from the previous race and finishing position, I believe. So it all kind of plays into a factor there. So if they did poorly at Vegas, they'll probably be starting towards the back of the field. So let's just go ahead and see what DraftKings has to offer and what they have given us in terms of pricing. So let's check it out here. Looks like that Chase Elliott, yes, I'll make sure that I was scrolling up to the top there. But yes, Chase Elliott is our most expensive driver. We only have three 10K drivers, starting in 10th at 10.5. Joey Logano starting in 8th at 10.3, and Kevin Harvick starting in 5th at 10.1. Now, in terms of odds, I believe Denny Hamlin is the favorite to win, but in reality, anyone can win at Talladega. To me, it seems like they have less wrecks here than Daytona. I don't know if it's because the track is a little wider, but it does seem like that. Of course, the start-finish line is not exactly in the middle of the tri-oval, so to speak. It's towards the end, going into turn one, basically. So it's a little different. You have a longer run when you come out of turn four. It takes a little while to get to that checkered flag. And honestly, it's really a pick-and-choose game of who you think will finish above where they started. I think that's the ultimate goal in picking a lineup here. So, statistically speaking, I believe John Hunter Nemechek is the best average finisher, but he's only got one start under his belt in the Cup Series. I believe that's 8th. His average finish is 8th because he finished 8th earlier on in the year this year. And John Hunter Nemechek is priced pretty well starting in 23rd, at 5,600. So that's something interesting to look at. He's in a pretty fast car. Ryan Preece was 2nd. I know it was somewhere around the top 10 in terms of his average finish. He's only got 3 starts, though. One of them was a 3rd. The others was 18th and 15th, or, somewhere in that range. He's starting in 25th at 6.5. Kurt Busch was one of the better average finish drivers in terms of the drivers in this field that started over 20 races. He's never won here, but that was interesting to note. Typically, your top restrictor plate drivers are Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney. So Ryan Blaney is one of the last 2 starts here with an average finish of 17.5. He had a few bad starts there with the Wood brothers and when he started with Penske. And he's starting in 14th, and I think he'll be pretty highly owned. I'm not going to go with him this time. I just don't feel that he is the best option there, but I do think he's a good option. He could lead a lot of laps for sure. I've picked Blaney a lot at Talladega. But But one option I think is just too good to pass up, and unfortunately, I feel like this is just the route you have to go. I know with the Xfinity race, the top option was A.J. Allmendinger. I actually faded him, and it was a mistake, actually, because he led a few laps. So I'm going to go with Brendan Gaughan starting in 39th. Brendan Gaughan is decent here. He's got an average finish of 19.2, and that's 20 plus starting, or 20 plus spots, above where he's starting. Brendan Gaughan could finish, if he gets a top 15, that would be a big time day for us. And he's got the Richard Childress engines, so I believe it's ECR engines. So look for him to compete. I think he can be up there at the front, especially if he avoids the wrecks. And at 9,500, he's priced about right. I mean, if he finishes up towards the top, it would be essentially like what it would be if he led a lot of laps. One thing to note, they're running 188 laps like they usually do for the YellaWood 500 here. They have 7 sets of tires. Tires are not that big of a deal. Now, they do have a little bit of tire wear here, but it's not really essentially a big thing. You know, it's something that I don't know that it helps too much. So Brendan Gaughan is going to be my first option. Second is going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's starting in 26th spot. He's 8,800. Ricky has a win, and his average finish is 10.9 here. He's one of the better plate drivers here. I really like Ricky. He's looked really fast at Daytona earlier on in the year, and he finished second at Talladega. We did have him in that race. Typically, I pick him in any restrictor plate race. He probably is the most talented on a restrictor. I keep calling restrictor plate. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, the super speedways. So I really like Ricky Stenhouse in that spot at 8,800. He could win the thing, and that would be a big-time value. Again, and a lot of people know that he's good at these tracks, so he probably will be highly owned. William Byron starting in an attractive spot in 21st. Jimmy Johnson in 17th. Eric Almarola is a driver. He's starting in 11th. This is one that, if I did multiple lineups, I would have Almarola in at least one, because Eric Almarola has 8 straight top 10s at Talladega. So going back to 2016, he has gotten in the top 10. His average finish is 14.8, so he had a lot of bad results before that. But since he's driven for Stuart Haas, he's gotten top 10s. There at the tail end of his career at Petty, he was getting top 10s. With that stat alone, he looks like he's definitely the most consistent plate driver, super speedway driver, especially at Talladega. So he's a good option. I'm not going with him in my main, just because I believe there's some better options here for us. And Clint Boyer, he's a pretty good driver at Talladega. Eric Jones, he's better at Daytona. Tyler Reddick starting in 30th. He's at 7,900. And I'm actually going to pull the trigger on Tyler. I know he made some bad moves in the Daytona race, but I like that starting spot. Again, the ECR engine program, picking a lot of Chevys here. I just like the differential in terms of where he can finish. He could definitely win the race. He's in a car that's capable of it. And really, you're just kind of gambling with your odds of who you think will dodge a wreck at Talladega. So Tyler Reddick starting in 30th. Do I think he'll hang around the back? I'm not really sure. He's going to be racing for the win. He has nothing else to really race for other than a win. He's not in the playoffs or anything. So I really like Tyler Reddick there. His Xfinity career, he has won here before, and he was pretty good. His average finish was inside the top 10. I can't remember the exact number, but he's a pretty good driver at Talladega, and I like him in that spot. So $7,900 average salary. We're going to scroll down, and honestly, every single driver is in play. Cody Ware is driving for Rick Ware Racing. He's in 34th. Brennan Poole, same team. 32nd, the 15 car. Quinn Houff, Starcom in 33rd. Joey Gase, again, another Rick Ware machine. And then James Davison is as well. So that's the 4 that's driving for James Davison. And then Timmy Hill driving for MBM in 37th. Justin Haley is in the field. He's driving the 77 Spire Motorsports car. I think Haley could be highly owned just for the simple fact that he has run pretty well in every single event that he has been in, right? this in the Cup Series, it looks like. I mean, he won at Daytona, and he's finished 17th, 13th, and 14th. The All-Star race, though, doesn't really count. I'm looking at that now. So, Daytona 500, he did get 13th, so that's pretty good for Spire. By the way, if you didn't notice that, DraftKings really got messed up. They showed number 16 for GMS Racing. Wow. That's his Xfinity number, and that's not even the right team. He drives for Colleague. Anyway. So I'm going to cut it off at Suarez here and analyze these drivers. So Austin Dillon is not that great at Talladega. DiBenedetto either. Bell, no. Newman, yeah, he's okay. But Corey LaJoie is pretty good at Talladega. So he's starting in the 29th spot. Corey LaJoie's average finish here is 18.6. Again, that's higher than what we're looking at in terms of where he's starting. So it's 11 spots higher. And actually, his last few starts have been inside the top 20. I look for him to be riding around the back and possibly avoiding a lot of wrecks. I don't think he's going to be really going up there until the end. And he's actually been competitive. I mean, he got in that Ryan Newman wreck at the 500. I believe it was either the Daytona race or the Talladega race last. He got in a wreck there late as well. So I like LaJoie's chances of being up front. And he's got the Stewart-Haas engine program. It's a lower tier, but either way, they have very fast engines, and especially restrictor plates, so super speedways. So we have 8,500 to spend, and what I'm going to do, this is my driver to win the race, and that's going to be Chase Elliott. That's my choice. He's a playoff driver. He's starting in 10th. The top 12 are the playoff drivers, so it looks like Almarola's in 11th, and Dillon's in 12th, so in terms of value, Dillon is pretty good. But, they get in a wreck, and that really screws you over. So I'm trying to minimize that. I did the truck and Xfinity race. Didn't do so well at those. But I see the strategy that did win. So it looked like that, you need to pick the drivers, 3 or 4 drivers that are 20s and lower, and, a really fast car, basically. Or 2. That is starting in a decent enough starting spot, maybe not like first. So there's more laps here, so that makes it a little different. And the cars in the Cup Series are a little different as well, so a lot more competitive. I think you have like probably 30-some cars that could win the race on engine alone, honestly. Not the whole field probably, but most of it. It's a little deeper than usual. So now we have 6,600 to spend. And now it's really just a gut check time. So we have Priest, Dillon. Again, Dillon is really going to be highly owned just because of his history. Priest probably as well, and he's also driving the same kind of car as Ricky Stenhouse. I typically do pick Priest, but for some reason, I keep wanting to lean towards Daniel Suarez. He's in the Team USA Olympics car, I believe, for Gaunt Brothers Racing. Suarez has an average finish of 18.9. That's a little higher than where he's starting for sure. But you could say that for Priest as well. You could say it for Dillon. Cole Custer starting in 18th, which is not terrible. Matt Kenseth in 20th. Kenseth actually has led the most laps at Talladega among all the drivers in the field, but he's had a lot of bad luck here as of late. McDowell and Nemechek are in fast cars as well. And then you could go Haley. But I'm thinking I might have a decent enough option with Daniel Suarez there starting in 31st. All right, so let's clear it out here. This is what Sports Chief's rolling out. Also, if you're looking for just a fast lineup, I think you have to go Stenhouse. If you're going off pure speed alone, I think you can go Stenhouse. I think you have to go Tyler Reddick as well, there in the 30th spot. And then in terms of these lower tier drivers, you could probably wait a little bit. But I believe you got to go Eric Almarola just because of his past history here. And Ryan Blaney probably. And if you go William Byron, that leaves you with $6,800. And you can get LaJoie, Priest, or Dillon. Honestly, I would probably go LaJoie. So I think that's another option that you can go with there. The lowest tier driver that I would even consider possibly winning. I mean, Haley did win, and ultimately they all can win. But in terms of pure speed, I guess I would probably, Kenseth is more than capable. So, yeah, I'd probably go Matt Kenseth. And then, just looking through the field here, I believe you have to go Tyler Reddick just for that sweet starting spot. And then let's just go ahead and put Ricky in there as well. So you could probably, my opinion, I think you got to go the playoff drivers with Dillon, and then Almarola. Well, you got $10,000, so honestly, you could go Chase Elliott, and then maybe Kyle Busch, or you could go Truex or Blaney. Blaney wouldn't be a bad option there. So that's a pretty fast looking lineup there. Let's cut it off at Dillon, and then, not really. You go up from Boyer from Reddick to Boyer from Reddick, but anyway, I mean that's a pretty fast looking lineup for sure. But anyway, that's not the one we're going to go with. I think this is something that you can play with a lot. If you have a lot of entries to work with, you could play with a lot of different scenarios, and it's almost like picking the numbers for the lottery. So, going with Chase Elliott. Ultimately, he is my pick to win the race, starting in 10th. He'll be up front most of the day, I imagine, unless he gets caught in a wreck early. He has won here before, and I look for him to probably be up front for at least 20 or 30 laps for sure. I'm not going to predict anything too crazy there. Going with Chase Elliott at 10.5, Brendan Gaunt at 9,500, 39th spot. Brendan Gaunt gets us a top 10. That's a big, big day for us. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 26th. Possibly could win the race. He's at 8,800 just for sole starting spot. So this is definitely a cash game strategy. Tyler Reddick starting in 30th at 7,900. Corey LaJoie starting in 29th at 6,700. And rounding out our lineup will be Daniel Suarez at 5,800. Hoping for some wrecks here, so that's what we're looking at in terms of the Sports Chief lineup. So, again, it's just really hard to pick Talladega. Really, the best advice that I can give you is go with your gut. Do a little bit of research. It really would help to have watched past races at restrictor plates. Again, the top drivers, it seems like, would be Eric Almarola, the Penske guys, all three of them, Keselowski, Logano, and Blaney. Blaney's one of the last two. Hendrick is always fast here. Again, it's basically you're looking at the engines. In terms of the lower tier drivers, Ty Dillon always seems to finish well. Corey LaJoie seems to finish pretty well. Parise seems to finish well. And Ricky Stenhouse, of course, is one of the more popular drivers at these plate races, so the super speedways. So, yeah, I believe you got to go off your gut, pretty much. If you like what you see here, comment, questions, put it down in the comment box down there. The comment box, yeah. Subscribe to our channel, and also hit the bell notification that will let you know that when we are going live in terms of uploading the videos. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at TheSportsChief, and on www.thesportschief.com. We have travel reviews, movie reviews, doing a lot of movie reviews right now. And when we travel different places, we try to highlight those areas. So if you're ever thinking about traveling, going anywhere right now, maybe we got some places. We did one on the Virginia Creeper Trail. Got a little attention there, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, so check us out on our website, and hope you have a good rest of your race weekend. And hey, it's October, so happy fall.